Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast.
And I'm using it to protect my friends.
Let's go! Let's go!
Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast. Gotta go fast. So we have Sonic, or rather Sonic the Hedgehog, I suppose. I don't have any Sonic shirts. I just got a blue shirt here with Dino DNA. However, I'll tell you what I do have, and this adorable little guy just came in. This is an Edgehog. Now, this is not a product placement or sponsorship, but if you want your own Edgehog, look at him. He's too cool for school over here. I thought it'd be perfect to join me for the review. If you want your own, I got him on a Kickstarter from this company called Creepy Kawaii. I don't know if they still... I don't know if she's still selling any more on the website, but if you can get any more, link in the description below for your own. Otherwise, she sells similar plushies and very... I believe the tagline is the darker side of kawaii, so feel free to check it out for your own. But yeah, I saw this guy. I just had to have him. Look at him. He's a little... Yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic. Released in 2020 of this year after being delayed from the tail end of last year due to, as I'm sure you saw on various news publications and websites, the original Sonic design. Yeah, that was a thing that was going to happen. It was pretty good. The internet was in an uproar. They would not be satisfied until the mistake had been corrected. And since studios like to make a lot of money, or as the fan theories suggest, they had this design in their back pocket the whole time, a redesign ended up being the decision the studio went with. And now we have a regular looking Sonic. So, at first, when the first trailer dropped, I didn't think much of this movie. But after the controversy surrounding the original design, the redesign that henceforth was implemented later, and then the fact that Jim Carrey's in it, enough selling points for me to go and see this one. And on Valentine's Day itself, I went to go see it with the franchise as my date, because that's where I am in life. And, you know, it's, what are a couple of single fellas going to do? Initial impressions, I'm not going to get into this big fan theory breakdown review and do this whole, like, bit by bit, because the film is what it is. So I'm going to say this. Sonic was actually a pretty solid movie, I'm not going to lie. Was it an Oscar winner? Was it the best animated film of the year? Probably not. But was it a bad movie? I actually didn't think so. I will say, before I say anything else, like Jim Carrey, I think he ended up in the hospital after this because of all the weight of carrying this movie on his back. Not to put the performance of Ben Schwartz or James Marsden out of frame here, but holy crap, is Jim Carrey a legend.
I just thought you might like a latte with steamed Austrian goat milk.
Of course I want a latte. I love the way you make them!
Great comedy work, great chops in terms of just the way that he, embodies a character. So, that just being said, he was one of the best selling points of this whole film. But it was directed by a guy called Jeff Fowler. I didn't know who he was either. I looked up his IMDb, and he only has 2 other films really up there from like the mid to early 2000s. We have, what is this? Go for Broke was the most recent one he did. Yeah. And Gentleman's Duel. So, not a whole lot of filmography under his belt. The main stars of this particular film being James Marsden as the human companion for our Sonic. We had, of course, Jim Carrey portraying the evil Dr. Robotnik, who was hands down my favorite character in this whole thing. And then we had Ben Schwartz doing Sonic. Everybody knocks the roles out of the park. Nobody really felt like they were phoning anything in, or nobody was really trying too hard to make up for anything. Like, from start to finish, everybody embodied the character they were playing. I was not too fascinated with a Sonic origin story, but it was, once I got into the rhythm of the film, it was nice kind of just seeing like an animated Sonic just, goofing off on Earth and just getting into all sorts of different hijinks and shenanigans and, fun stuff like that. I didn't have any issues with the camera work. The special effects, like the effects, design, the animation, the CGI, nothing was really bad. Like, it all looked solid. I thought it all came together pretty nicely, so props to them for that. The redesign of Sonic was great. I really loved seeing that in action. Jim Carrey's Robotnik with all of his drones and mechs and all that. Everything worked visually in the film. Now, when it came down to the writing, the peak comedy in this film was hands down Jim Carrey. I will say, Ben Schwartz's Sonic, there were some lines that were just kind of a little bit cheesy and a little bit childish, and we kind of fell into the old trap that studios like Illumination might fall into, which is just, when you pop a fart joke in or bodily function humor, it just is hit or miss. I mean, for the kids, it's good and all that, but practicality speaking, you could do better. But honestly, I kind of had this I don't go to see a lot of PG movies in theaters, and I rarely have done serious reviews for kids movies, but it was weird because going to a movie, even a late night showing on Valentine's Day night, and being in a pretty packed house, but all the kids in there, and it really just kind of put things in a frame of reference for me. Yeah, adults are seeing this too, but when it comes down to it, it's a kids movie. Kids shows and movies can be for kids and still be smart and clever and work on different levels. Stuff like, nobody ever heard of Dougal, but I love Dougal. And Dougal did a great job of being able to go between kids movie, but also having either borderline adult humor or smarter humor. And there's plenty of other kid movies like that. I mean, Lego Movie dealt with some pretty serious themes. That's a pretty modern one, but that's technically a kids movie, but I loved the Lego Movie. I still love Lego Movie. So, when I was actually watching this, a weird kind of sensation came over me where I was taken back to a simpler time where I'm just like, you know what? Seeing this to the view of an 8-10-year-old kid or what have you, it could be a pretty great time. And when it comes down to it, it's a sci-fi fantasy movie. It's kind of meant for kids. That being said, I don't think it excuses itself from criticism, so that's why I'm here. I would say go see it, honestly. I know this review is kind of everywhere right now, but that's the gist of what I'm getting to, is that Sonic was actually kind of a fun time. Go get some friends. You don't have to be drunk to enjoy it. If you're a fan of Sonic, you'll probably dig it. Even if you're not, it was pretty decent time. There were some out loud laughs I definitely shared with the franchise, and things seemed pretty low stakes until the end, and even then you kind of knew how things were going to turn out. I enjoyed it. Granted, they do sequel bait, but the way they kind of set it up, I'm low-key down for a sequel to this and potentially more films for a Sonic franchise. Now, like I said, the cons to this are that the writing for Sonic here and there seemed a bit juvenile at times. Granted, I think it's because Sonic is a kid, like a young adult, so that makes sense. It's excusable to an extent, but the writing could have been a tad bit better, and the story seemed pretty straightforward and simple. Aside from that, I don't have a whole lot of gripes about it, just that it could have been better. Without any spoilers, I'm going to say this. If you're down for a Sonic movie, if you're down for just a nice, fun, simple kids movie with a little fast-running little hedgehog, not an Edgehog, but a hedgehog, then I'd say check it out. I'd give Sonic a very, very solid 3 out of 5. It's near perfection, if you know what I'm saying. Because typically I reserve a 4 for movies that are just on the cusp of perfection. But I'd say 3 is definitely above average. I think Rotten Tomatoes currently has it pegged at low 60s right now. Not quite rotten, but not great either. I think this movie doesn't really deserve a bad rap. I think they did a good job. I'm glad they listened to the fans and went with the redesign to really go with some fan service there and try to deliver on a quality, solid Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And I'd say overall, aside from some juvenile humor, like I said, and some flaws in writing and here and there, and just, bits that could have been put together, maybe a more interesting, in-depth narrative, perhaps. This could have been a really great, fantastic film. But in the meantime, I would say it was definitely a good film. Go check it out. It's a fun one. If you're not a fan of kids' films, if you're not a fan of silly humor, Jim Carrey, or Sonic the Hedgehog, you probably won't dig it. But I'd say it's worth a shot otherwise. That's all time I have for today. But that's my general, quick review of Sonic the Hedgehog. 3 out of 5. Definitely worth a watch. Not positive if I'll buy it when it comes out, but I'm 100% down to see it again, show friends, watch it with friends, or what have you. And I would say, go check it out yourself, support the studio, and hopefully we'll get more Sonic games in the future. In the meantime, that's been my movie review. Stay tuned for the next one that I do. Yeah. Goodbye, travelers.